Hey guys, welcome back to the Hands-On channel. I hope you guys are all doing well in this ongoing collapse that we're going through here in the United States. I mean, it's just unbelievable when I look around at the news from day to day, just the different things that are going on now. And I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the things that have just really stood out to me in the past couple of days. For one, first and foremost, I think the number's up to 47 people they found along the Texas border dead inside of the back of a semi truck. I mean, that's horrific. You know, I know these people aren't United States citizens, but they're people. So that should raise alarms. That should raise the alarm bells. And you know, as I was reading through that article, they were saying those are just the ones that we know about, the ones that we're aware of. Imagine how many times this has happened, and that person that's driving the truck just takes it on out to the desert, and people just bury them out in the desert or whatever the heck's happening down there. But the point is that 47 people, innocent people, that were just trying to probably have a better life, you know, for the most part. Who knows what their intentions were. Anyways, they're dead now. And I'm sure there were women and children among that lot. So I'm sure as we learn more and more about it, the horrors and just how terrible this whole thing was will come to light. So let's ask ourselves a question. You know, by the same metric they used to want to ban all guns after the Uvalde shootings week or so back, whenever that was, a couple of weeks ago, they want to ban all guns. I mean, wouldn't it make sense that if this is the case, if people are so desperate to get here, that we should probably, you know, as responsible Americans, try to do everything we can to ensure that doesn't happen again for their own good. And not only that, we don't want people coming in here and dying in our country. It's just not right. So yeah, I can't imagine just being, you know, from what I read, it was basically they got too hot inside of there. It's really, really hot right now, brutally hot. We've had a break for the last couple of days around here where it hasn't been quite as bad, but it's still pretty humid and all that stuff. And when you get stuck into the back of a semi-truck trailer with, you know, 46, 47 other people, their body heat's going to create a lot more internal temperature inside of the back of that trailer. So, I mean, it's just horrific. And responsible Americans would do the right thing and try to make sure that we either get the wall completed so that it's not so easy for them to come across the border, or at very least, we do what Ron Paul suggested years and years ago. Back in 2012, Ron Paul said, if you want to stop the border problem and the problem with all this immigration, it's real easy. You turn off the magnet. There's been a magnet turned on for years and years, drawing people in to get free benefits. You know, in some states, they give them driver's licenses and stuff like that. It's unbelievable. You know, free medical care, stuff like that, they can't get down in their home countries, right? So, of course, they're going to try to come here. They get paid from a lot of these different positions that Americans supposedly don't want, you know, like picking fruit and working farms and things like that. They get paid pennies on the dollar to what minimum wage is in your local state and area. So it's been tricking our system for years and giving us a false economy, making everything cheap and affordable. And all that stuff's coming home to roost right now. It's coming home to kick our butts real hard. I mean, my wife was just telling me a couple of days ago that, you know, forget about bacon. We ain't going to be eating bacon anymore because she said the prices were just outrageous. So we're going to have to make a lot of adjustments as Americans to go into this new Biden economy. And of course, as we know, from day one, he turned on the magnet and brought in everybody he could from all these other countries. You know, it doesn't matter if it's Afghanistan refugees, Ukrainian refugees, whatever. They're bringing them into the United States. And, you know, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be helping in some capacity. Of course we should, but we shouldn't be bringing in people that are unvetted and we don't know anything about them. So I saw another article last night. I didn't read it, but I saw the headline. And they caught like 6 or 8 Afghanistan, what they're calling refugees, down on the southern border. I mean, so guys, I've been saying it all along. When you have a porous, open border, that invites all kinds of potentially evil and bad stuff through that southern border. So, I mean, who knows? Are those guys terrorists or what? They could be. They could be. Our border is so porous right now. I mean, how long until Vladimir Putin is sending troops up through the Spetsnaz troops up through the southern border? I mean, maybe they're already here. We wouldn't know because our southern border is so porous. So anyways, on to the next story. I'm sure you've heard about the train that derailed. It actually hit a dump truck yesterday. And The last I looked, they weren't actually saying what the body count was and how many people had actually died. But, you know, like 50 or so people were injured and the train was laying over on its side. And what immediately came to my mind was, is this some sort of an act of terrorism? You know, is this some even domestic terrorism? Is this something just to cause disruptions in the supply chain? We've seen all sorts of stuff as it relates to trains. And somebody, one of my commenters, informed me like a week or two back that there's a big railroad strike coming on, like in the next couple of months. They're planning on doing a big railroad strike, and all of these people in the, you know, that work for the railroads, I guess they're, you know, either 80 or 90% unionized. So if they strike and they decide to shut the rail system down, that's going to add even more problems to an already cracking and breaking supply chain system. So I advise you, stock up now while you can. It's not too late. Go out there in your backyard, get yourself some raised planting boxes going, or some kind of a raised bed, even if you have to do it in 5-gallon buckets. Or one I discovered recently was the old mineral buckets. Just go type in mineral buckets on like Marketplace or Craigslist, and you'll be able to pick these things up for $5 or $6 a piece, and they're bigger than a 5-gallon drum. So it'll be easier for you to grow things in those. But yeah, you should be doing everything in your power right now to ensure that you and your family will be able to eat in the future. And I don't just mean doing the 8 to 5 or whatever, going to work. I'm not talking about that. That's good stuff too. You got to keep going to work. But my point is that after you get off work, you need to go out there and pick weeds and water your garden, and, you know, take care of your rabbits, take care of your chickens, whatever you can get away with at your location. You should be trying to do it now, because I'm telling you, with everything stacking up against us, the economy collapsing, interest rates are up, stock market's down. You only get mugged if you go downtown, right? I mean, there's a lot of truth to that old country boy can survive. It may be the ultimate prepper song. I was thinking about that before I started this video. I think, what's his name? Hank Williams Jr., Country Boy Can Survive, may be the ultimate prepper song. If you don't have all of those things, or like 90% of those things checked off, you're not going to make it probably. I mean, I'm being serious, you know. So guys, please go out and get stocked up now while the supply chain's still there. I'm just hearing all sorts of stuff about mass layoffs around the country. You know, as things deteriorate and as parts are less and less available, then these production facilities around the country aren't going to be producing. As they stop producing because they can't get parts, then that's going to reduce how much shipping is necessary for things like that. Onto that front, I've heard all sorts of stuff about the DEF fluid being in very, very short supply across the country. So some gas stations have signs up that just say no DEF, and basically what that means is that's an environmental kill switch that the government has installed into every big rig that was produced after, I think it was 2010. So if it's 2010 or newer, or maybe it's 2012 or newer, it has to have a DEF system. And what that means for these truck drivers is they're having to go around, you know, spend extra time finding this DEF fluid. Maybe some of the bigger companies may have their own stockpiles of it and stuff. I don't know how that works, but let me know if you're a trucker down there in the comments. Are you struggling in your area to find DEF fluid? Because I'm just hearing all kinds of stuff about that. And speaking of the rail, it ties into the rail. A moment ago we were talking about that. Well, the rail commissioner, or somebody that's in charge, the head honcho in charge of the rail and freight industries across the United States, was basically saying that they were going to have to cut the amount of DEF fluid that they were going to be delivering on their rail system. And it's probably because, if I had to guess, it's because as Biden shut down the pipelines and the different projects we had going on related to oil shipping across the United States. And of course, pipelines, if you don't know, are the safest, easiest, best way, cheapest way to transmit or to transport large amounts of fluids across the country. And of course, Biden came in like day one, day two, declared executive orders, shut down the pipelines and the system, and basically has been attacking the energy sector ever since. And what's really interesting is, on one side of his mouth, if he's trying to talk to people, the American people, he'll say like, oh, well, this is Putin's fault, and, you know, there's nothing we can really do about it. And then, or he'll say, we're tapping the oil reserves, the national emergency oil reserves. We're tapping that, and we're going to put a bunch of, you know, millions of gallons of oil into the system. But the problem is we use so much oil that it's not making any difference. So as you can see from the rising fuel prices, it's almost $5 a gallon national average right now. I'm sure it is $5 a gallon. In my area, it's just a little under, like $4.80, $4.90 for pure gas. If you buy ethanol gas, you can get that for like around $4.20 or $4.30 maybe. So I don't know. I don't run ethanol fuel because all of my vehicles are older, and so I run pure gas in my stuff. And it lasts longer, has a longer shelf life. So there's a lot of reasons that if you can get pure gas in your area, you should get it. But anyways, on the other side of Biden's mouth, when he's talking to world leaders, he's saying, oh yeah, I did this on purpose. I know it's going to be painful for the American people, but this is just the transitional phase we're going to have to go through to bring in clean, green energy. So as I said many times in many of my videos, they are cutting our wrists and our throats intentionally. His boss, and the guy that's actually the secret shadow president right now, Barack Obama, he's the one that said back in like 2008, 2009, he said, under my plan, under my energy plan, your energy prices will necessarily skyrocket. So that's what Biden is doing. He's just following through with Obama's agenda. No surprise there. And that's why it was so shocking on election night of 2020, watching the outcome come in as it did late in the evening like it did. And, you went to bed and you thought, oh, looks like Trump's going to win. And they stopped counting in a lot of these places and a lot of weird glitches all around. And then suddenly the next day you wake up and they're like, oh yeah, it's Biden. And don't question it, because if you question it, we'll take you down and we'll censor you online and remove your channel from the internet. So yeah, that's why I haven't been talking a lot about that. And speaking of that, things I'm not supposed to talk about, I've seen so many stories and I want to tell you guys all about them. But the problem is that my channel will get banned. And it's basically about this thing here. You remember that a while back? And it was mandated as mandatory and stuff like this. Well, guess what? It still is. It's still being mandated. There are people still being fired every day in the military, especially, being run off because they don't want to get the thing, right? And the other thing I just saw a couple days ago, some little kid, a child like 5 or 7 years old, needed some life-saving, emergency surgery. And the hospital was saying, oh no, not unless they get the thing. And the problem is if you're paying attention, you're seeing there are a whole host of side effects that the media, for some reason, just doesn't want to talk about anymore. Why is that? Is it because they were in cahoots in pushing the thing down everybody's throat or pushing it into their arm? I mean, yeah, of course it is. And of course now they're trying to go after kids under 5 years old, even with all of the health consequences that we're seeing in teenagers and older young adults. I mean, people that are highly athletic. I mean, just sudden adult death syndrome or whatever they're calling it. And this new thing. And they're saying that the paralysis and other handicaps are like 30 or 40% higher than they were pre. So something really, really fishy is going on with this thing. They're still finding things inside the vials that don't make sense. I saw a video recently about a coroner. It was over on InfoWars, so you have to go over there to check it out. But Mike Adams came on, and he was actually looking under an electron microscope at one of these supposed blood clots that they're finding. It didn't look like a blood clot. It looked like ramen noodles. I mean, it was unbelievable that they pulled this from inside of somebody's veins. So some organism is apparently growing in some cases after you get the thing that shall not be named on YouTube. So as you can tell by the way I'm talking about this, censorship is still off the charts here. You can't say certain things. People have said, hey, go over and start up a different channel or whatever. But again, I feel like we need to fight for this ground right here. It's the one that gets all the eyeballs, whether we like it or not. I can go over to like my favorite channels on Rumble or whatever, and you can just see the viewership is way low over there compared to what it would be on YouTube. And speaking of that, censorship and things like that, we'll end the video here. I'm trying to make a short one today, as I'm out here. Actually, we're spraying weeds and stuff, trying to restore a pasture out here. Our back field that we call the L field, it's just totally full of these sumac trees, and they're little bitty. I've already brush hogged them once, but they're popping back up, so we're trying to go through while they're small, and that way we can spot treat, and that instead of spraying the whole property, we're just going through and spraying the actual plants we're trying to kill. But anyways, back to the censorship thing. One of my favorite all-time channels on YouTube. And I've noticed that. It seems to be a trend. Every time I get to liking a channel on YouTube, it's gone suddenly. It just disappears. Well, I've told you guys about this channel multiple times. Chris Ann Hall. It's KrisAnnehall. And she did have a YouTube channel, had you know, years and years, I mean hundreds of videos, because they were doing a daily live stream podcast thing. And it was really cool because she was a constitutional attorney. So someone like that knows how to play within the rules, right? They know how to read this legalese. And you know, for YouTube to go after her and attack her the way they did is just unbelievable. Not only was she a constitutional attorney, she had some sort of either biochemistry or virology or something like that. She was medically qualified to talk about what was going on during the whole COVID thing, right? Well, they pulled her channel down for medical misinformation, they called it. And they didn't give her a chance to appeal. And I'm not even sure they told her what it was for. A lot of times that's the thing about YouTube. When they ban you, they don't tell you what part of the video got you banned. So they don't tell you, like, you know, this far into the video, 33 seconds in, you said this thing. They don't say exactly specifically what it is. So if you're just getting your first warning, you don't really know what was it that I said that I can't say again. YouTube won't be that straightforward with you. They're just going to tell you, oh, we banned it for medical, you know, misinformation or whatever. And I've had a couple of videos taken down for that reason too. But anyways, yeah, it really saddened me when I heard they took Chris Ann Hall off of YouTube. Now you can go find her still. She's got her own website. Go check out chrisannhall.com, and also go over to Rumble. And I believe they're on BitChute, or maybe it's what's the other one? I can't remember the other one. Library or whatever. There's several of them, but go check. I know she's on Rumble for sure. You can still go over there and get her take on a lot of these different really important matters, like the Supreme Court rulings. It's just been 3 home runs in a row. We started out with the New York ruling on the right to bear arms, basically. You know, that was like a couple weeks ago now, or a week and a half ago. And then we got the Roe v. Wade decision just last week. And then at the end of last week, they came in, and the coach that was trying to pray at halftime or something like that during the game, and I don't know if that guy got fired. I didn't follow that case too closely, but the Supreme Court ruled in his favor. So that means he'll be able to pursue legal action against that school, especially if they fired him. But even if they didn't fire him, because they restricted his rights, he'll have a lawsuit if he decides to go out that way. So anyways, things are actually not as bad as they seem, at least on the judicial side of the government. Everything else in the legislative and the executive branch is going off the rails. But that's why the founding fathers were so brilliant, and they set up this system of government, this republic that we live for and we live in. And the reason they set it up like this is so that we would have 3 separate but equal branches of government, you know, executive, legislative, and judicial. And thankfully, the judicial branch is on the side of traditional American values. So I'm going to leave you with that good story there. But yeah, go pay attention, guys. There's so much going on every day that, you know, it just leaves your head spinning. So I'm trying to hit some of these rapid fire so the videos aren't so long. I know your time is valuable. You got to get out there and get to prepping. And I highly suggest you do that. And don't stop at prepping. Once you're all prepped up and you've got more cans and stored water and stored medical supplies and comms and all the clothing you're going to need, everything you're going to need. You've got a pile of firewood and a wood stove and all that stuff that you're going to need. When you think, man, I've done it, I've got everything, don't stop there. Go out and start becoming more self-reliant. Grow your own food. Grow your own food. Cut out the middleman. Cut out the taxation. Grow your own. It doesn't come without a lot of hard work. But if you're willing to do that hard work, the earth will provide for you what you need. So, and the Lord will provide. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. God bless you. God bless the United States of America, the Republic. I stand for liberty. I hope you do too.